Welcome to another episode of the Booktroverts podcast with your two favorite gals. I'm McKayla.
I'm Meg.
And we are doing our first episode of 2025, starting it off with a bang. We are doing all things Onyx Storm prep. So we both have reread Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. We dove back into the world. We've gone back. We were looking for all the details, and we've come up with some theories of what we think will happen in Onyx Storm / maybe the rest of the series, and just some thoughts we have going into the new book. So I say we just jump right in, because I'm sure we have a lot of stuff that we want to talk about.
Yeah, I tried to limit how much I actually wrote in my notes because it started getting a little crazy. So hopefully we'll get to everything.
Hopefully. I mean, there's so much. And obviously, this is just us being delusional and like looking for the Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I would be happy if like one of mine came true. I'm thinking a lot of this is probably far-fetched, but it's just fun to dig through and come up with fun theories, you know. It makes the series more exciting, makes the anticipation more, I mean, not that I need help being more anticipated for the book, but I feel like this makes it a little bit. You can be like, ooh, I guessed that.
Yeah, now it's a true countdown until the book actually comes out, is basically what I feel now. I mean, I've had that mindset, but after the reread, it's so much better. I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yeah. As of recording this, we're 9 days out. As of the episode being released, I think we're 6 days out.
I think that's math. I don't know.
Exciting times. I think I just did that quick in my head. Okay. Do you want to just kind of like, you do one, I'll do one?
Theories first?
Yeah, and we'll just go back and forth like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't think I have as many as you do, so we'll see how this goes. But my first one that I had was the marked ones having 2 signets. And at first, went right over my head. Someone had suggested this, and I go, I have no idea what you're talking about. But obviously, I haven't read the book in a good year, so it took diving into it. The part that was super interesting was in Fourth Wing. Liam, when they're at the battle, he's able to wield ice. But that is not his signet. He has farsight. So, or had, R.I.P. Liam. I was curious because in the same paragraph or, chapter, Imogen mentions that she's super fast, but she also has her main signet as well. So it was one of those where I was trying to figure out, am I reading too much into this? Are they just, having something? But one of the reasons why I was questioning if this was more accurate, or maybe they don't have a second signet, maybe they just have an advanced something. But the reason why is Coda, the dragon who gave them all of their relics. Violet talks to him at the end of Iron Flame, which is also interesting, the fact that she can talk to dragons that aren't hers and be able to communicate, and they listen to her, because you're not really supposed to talk to others. Everyone's terrified of each other's dragon, as much as they live and breathe dragons, but they don't go to others.
She talks to him because she's trying to get him to come fire the wardstone. I know, because I just read this part this morning.
Yeah, same.
But we don't get like italics of him talking back to her. He just like breathes on her. I like that thought path that you're on, though, because maybe that was intentional to not put that in, because maybe that could be like that's her signet, her second signet.
Yeah.
But I didn't connect. Yeah, Coda put that relic on him. He's the elder of his den.
He is.
Because now you're technically having 2 relics from 2 different dragons, because they get one when they bond with their dragon.
Yeah.
So that is smart.
Yeah, so I have no idea, and like you said at the beginning,
went over my head.
Yeah, some of these might be far-fetched. This is where, unfortunately, when I was reading this time, I focused on this so heavily because someone had posted it and go, oh, I wonder if that's actually true. And then reading it, I started going into that rabbit hole and said, oh my God, is this actually true? So
no, that's really smart.
I have no idea, but it's really interesting because the fact that he is willing to, I don't want to say obey Violet, but he's willing to help her out at the end of Iron Flame just kind of extends a little bit of, did he do something, even though that they wanted the relic on every single one of the marked ones to be able to, shame them for their family. I wonder if they gave them some little power or something to help them out, because the dragons, it's their series. It is not the people. We've said this many times when we talk about this on other pods. So what are they doing that's helping out the Empyrean without their humans knowing? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. That's where I went, the first one.
I really like that. And in our notes, we built a nice little chart with like
Yeah.
what everyone's signet is so we can remember. And I'm looking and we don't know Garrick's.
Oh my God, we don't.
That could be something that we get in Onyx Storm where we find out what his signet is, but then we might also start to see clues of a second one that could really reinforce that.
Yeah. Yeah, because we know Bodhi's, right? I was trying to remember.
He can counter signets.
Counter, yes. Okay. They're all powerful.
I don't think we've seen him do something else, but it doesn't mean he can't. We just maybe haven't seen that part of him in action, but I think we could be onto something there. And that totally makes sense because I think it's in the beginning of Fourth Wing. Violet's getting upset with Taryn about not telling her something, and he was like, you have your secrets and we have ours. Mm-hmm. Like, there's certain things we're just not going to tell you. We're protecting dragonkind. And that would make sense because they said that, you know, the dragons who wanted to leave to go fight the Ven, they were leaving it up to the individual dragons. Mm-hmm. And some went and some chose to stay. So that could have been Coda kind of like drawing his line in the sand. Like, I don't actually think these people should have been executed for participating in this war with these things that we know are going to harm people.
Yeah.
And so as a way of his own rebellion, being like, yeah, I'll put this relic, but I'm going to put something in it. Because I wonder if the rebellion relics have rune designs in it.
Oh my God. That's a huge part of Iron Flame that the first time I read it just
Over
my head.
I think also, though, we didn't have the title for Onyx Storm, so I wasn't connecting like, oh, she uses the word onyx a ton.
That I have that in my notes as well.
Rereading, I'm like, okay, dumbass. Like, she says it every other, like, Fourth Wing, it is there so many times.
I wish I highlighted the word because you said that you were looking at it and I was so far in at that point, but wow, I am curious. I actually want to go back and just quickly do a search all for the word onyx.
So many. And in Fourth Wing, every mention of onyx is in relation to Xaden's eyes.
Okay.
Gold flexed onyx.
I have a comment on that, but for Iron Flame specifically. So
yeah. And then in Iron Flame, the beginning, onyx is still just referring to his eyes. Mm-hmm. And then maybe towards like the end of part 1, but definitely in part 2, it switches. And they talk about how all the runes have onyx in them. The ones in the daggers. Yeah.
And then the wyvern that didn't die from the wards
had a rune in them, yeah.
That one was so confusing. I go, so Onyx Storm could literally mean so many different things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I have 2 thoughts. I think Onyx Storm is going to be the war within Xaden.
Yeah.
Because now he's gone to Jack at the end of Iron Flame, and Jack says, there's no cure. There's only you wanting more power. So I think it's just going to be a war within his self of like, what do I do? I'm a danger to all these people. I think also because he turns venin, I don't know. I'm thinking that it might create some pathways, some mind pathways between the venin. Where now, like, wherever he is, they can find him. Or they can communicate with each other. Now, it hasn't been proven because, like, him and Jack talked, like, face-to-face. They didn't talk through their minds. I'm just thinking, so maybe he's like, this is a danger to myself. I really think Rebecca's going to pull a new moon on us. Twilight Book 2.
Yep.
And she's going to have Xaden distance himself from the group in a way to protect them.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be off doing his own thing.
I think it would
then cause an issue because the dragons. Like, how are Sigale and Taryn going to be separated? Which does bring me into one of my theories.
All right, just go for it. You were on a roll.
But, like,
so.
let's just, like, keep this all together.
Yeah.
I think Violet's going to turn venin.
I don't want to agree with you, but after reading it and finished it last night, I go, the dream, which I have in air quotes, that she kept having for the sage, also from Xaden's POV at the end, is the same ones that he's having. I think that means that they're both going to turn. Whether it's for the greater good. I mean, I know that they said it's for love is kind of the thing, but yeah, I think it's going to be something to help out the rest, and I don't know why.
So I was thinking initially, like, turn for love for both of them. Like, she's going to turn to protect or to try, like, to be with Xaden. But now, as I'm thinking more about that mind connection, Xaden's going to go off on his own. But Taryn and Sigale can't be separated for more than 3 days. I think Xaden turned for the love of Violet. Violet's going to turn for the love of her dragon.
I was going to say that or her people. Because the whole thing at the Iron Flame is basically they all need to live. I'm going to do this ward and put all my energy into it. It was very much for him, for them.
Yeah. And I think she'll turn so that she can go off with Xaden and be venin with him over in yonder land so they don't harm all the people that she loves. And then that way that Taryn and Sigale don't have to be separated.
Yeah. It's interesting because obviously we know with Jack that you can have a dragon still, your dragon can die and you can live.
And you don't die.
Yeah, he just channels from the ground a bit and then he's fine.
It makes me worried for the fate of Taryn and Sigale.
And
Andarna. Actually, I think Andarna will prevail till the end, but like Taryn, I don't know. Not that I thought this, but people have been saying they're worried he's going to die. And if Violet is venin, that does become a possibility. He could die without killing her because she's technically dead.
Yeah, I will say too, he did say something at the end when she was trying to get the words back up of basically, if you die, I am dying with you. I'm not having another rider. Like, he is at his end mentally with this. With it. Yeah, and I don't know if that's part of why he chose her, knowing that this is how they go out, is to something greater that he's going to help out with. I have no idea. Because you know that there's always one person in a series, whatever it is, that ends up sacrificing themselves for the better of everyone else. And I just feel that this 4, and Darn is a piece that I really don't know what's going to be her fate with it, but I know that that core 4 is probably going to be the downfall.
I don't know, but I definitely think the runes, like, you're onto something with that. And then finding out that they were inside the wyvern, like, so are there runes? Like, what? We didn't find out. Like, they just saw the rune, but, like, what does that rune do?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Is it a tracking one? Is it like, this is how they're making them? They're building them off these runes? Because we still don't know how they're making them.
Well, and that was the other thing that they said is, did people give the venin this power? Because I don't really know where the venin started. Because at first it's people who wanted more power. But is it dragon riders that wanted more power, or is it just some person who was jealous of the fact that these, riders had so much power and they wanted to, go at them? So I have no idea how they're getting their information, because they have a lot of magic and lesser magic, I'll put in air quotes, that the riders were not going to get for a long time, that the flyers had because they were kind of out on the battlefield forever. But there's something out there that's giving them this information, and what is it?
So actually, that's one of my first theories that I thought about when I was doing my reread, is I think it starts in Fourth Wing. Violet's talking about that book that her dad wrote, the folklore book.
Yeah.
And in it, there's the story of the 3 brothers. And immediately, I was like, this is Deathly Hallows copy-paste. Yeah. Put this in your mind, because this is going to come back. All those excerpts are very intentional.
Very.
And I was like, this is going to come back. I can see it. Now, the issue is I'm thinking it's going to be similar like Harry Potter, where we have the story, but then you can apply it to modern characters that we're dealing with now.
Yeah.
So the 3 brothers, one is a dragon rider, one becomes a griffin flyer, and the third one is just jealous that he didn't get either, and so he channels from the earth. So that would answer your question of like, how did they get it?
Okay.
It's the jealousy route.
Fair. That makes so much sense. Yep.
So by the end of Fourth Wing, I was thinking, oh, this must mimic the Sorrengail siblings. But then I couldn't really place them because they're all dragon riders.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on there. So I felt like, I don't know. It didn't feel right. Then I think it's in Iron Flame. We get another excerpt at the beginning, and it talks about, I think it's the dragon rider. Oh my God, I got so confused with the riders and the flyers. The dragon rider wields the sky to take down the jealous brother that is a venin.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, dragon rider brother in the folklore has to be Violet, because she channels the sky with the lightning.
Yeah.
Griffin flyer, maybe Cat. She's
it could be.
Powerful.
She's a badass.
And then Xaden could fill the role of jealous brother / venin.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That was just me thinking along the lines.
But if you think about it, they had even talked about having the, with getting the words up, it was the strongest riders that they have, right? Mm-hmm. Xaden was one of them. Violet's obviously one of them as well.
Yep.
But then when they were talking about the strongest unit, when I know they had the flyers and the riders kind of become together as one, it's Cat's group. I think you're on to something. I'm curious. Obviously, we know how it is with Harry Potter because we've all read that series 5 billion times. So we know how the 3 end up being in terms of the story. And I'm trying not to reference that that's what's going to happen in this, but it is interesting that it's a similar mindset with what is the, how is Violet going to take him down if that's the case? Because if he goes down, I think she's going down with him, obviously. But to what end and when? Because I don't think that there can be the rest of the series if they're not in it. So I part of me thinks that Xaden's going to live through the entire series. Whether Sigale lives, I have no idea. But I know he's going to have to stay unless their lives don't depend on each other anymore now that he's venin. I have no idea. But
there's so many,
they can still talk to each other
stuff.
and they're dragons. So I don't know. That bond is still there. But
can they, though?
I thought that Violet could talk to Sigale at the end. She was asking him, and she said, be careful with your words with Xaden because the fact that he was venin at that point. I thought they could.
Right. I'm trying to remember if it was in italics when him and they were talking because he was asking her like how long it would take you to, you're right.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. Like people who don't read the actual book, the italics is a huge detail.
Can I ask you something? I listened to the audio for Fourth Wing, but I also had my Kindle open so I could read with it. To your point, you cannot tell the difference. But what was weird to me was there were certain parts that were italicized, but it wasn't in their mind. It was said out loud. So I kept getting confused, and I don't know if it was an editing error. Maybe it was, or maybe it's intentional because that could be the case. But there were some parts that were all italicized in the book, but the voice was a little bit different in the audio, and I could not tell if they just went with it and said, oh well. But I was just so curious if their conversations sometimes confused me of, are they always talking in their mind?
Yeah.
It
was interesting too on the reread, knowing that Xaden is in Tinsic. I was like, how was I shocked by that?
So many hints.
So many.
It's actually terrifying how many times in Fourth Wing I go, he knows things that he should not. Mm-hmm. And even in Iron Flame, there was one point where he found out about her being able to get the wards up. And she goes, what, is it written on my face? How can he get that one clue from your facial expressions? I know he's good.
That's why.
Yeah, exactly. I go, no. There's definitely something going on.
Yeah. This is good because I feel like just the way the conversation's going, I'm like hitting a few of my theories, which is great, which means we're like, maybe they're true because we're on the same path.
I know.
People, we did not talk before this.
No.
Well, we talked about wow, we missed a lot or we forgot a lot in the year since we read it, but we didn't talk about theories. I think Xaden and Violet will die at the end of the book.
I think so,
the end of the series. Obviously, it's a 5-book series. We can't kill them in Onyx Storm.
Yeah.
They're going to be here till the end. I do think they will die. Yeah. Only because all of the parts that were Xaden's letters to Violet all say recovered correspondent.
Yeah.
Now, that could mean the letters are still technically in her dorm room at Basgiath. So Basgiath is going to crumble and they're going to have to get it from the rubble, or they abandon it and people have to go back to get the records. I don't know. Or they die, and we know Jacinia is probably going to survive because all of the accounting comes from her.
Yeah.
At this point, I feel inclined to believe she is good and she is not manipulating the story and manipulating the history, but there are 3 more books and I think she will be tested, and there could come a point where she wants to fall back into kind of the scribe nature that she's been taught and redact some things. I think up to this point, though, she is proving to be helpful and be an ally to them. So I don't know. Also, if you notice in the recovered correspondent, their titles don't change. It always says Lieutenant Ryerson to Cadet Sorengale. Granted, are they so worried about the titles in the ranks within the army because they're doing a revolution? I don't think they're saying they're having like promotion ceremonies, but so that could be one path, or it's they don't live to get to the next level.
I know, and I was thinking about that too, because even with the translation of the journals that it's Cadet Sorengale and Cadet Aetos, it always says Cadet, and I also question, now not to contradict a bit of what I just said, but I also question if it's just do they put their title of at that moment of what they are?
Yeah,
because
that could be something too.
I don't know if it is, but to your point, I don't think a lot of them are living through, and a lot of the correspondent is with that core group of Xaden, Brennan, Dane, and Violet. Because if you think about it, also, it's a lot of the professors and people who have passed. You know what I mean? They've already lived their life. They're gone at this point. So it could be this is what their title is at that point, and that's it.
And some of the book excerpts, like History of Writers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think the first time I read it, I just assumed those were all like books that they were studying in this moment, excerpts from current books. But I think some of them could be books from the future, because obviously this is written from Justinia's point of view after the events. It literally says at the beginning of Fourth Wing, it says these are after the events.
Yeah.
She could be including excerpts of current books and the history that they're referring to, where you might think it's the first rebellion with Xaden's father. It's actually this rebellion. So I highlighted those just to keep note of them, but I think it's interesting.
No, I totally think you have a point, because like anything Rebecca does, it's super intentional. And the fact that it is so far, you could definitely relate it to, okay, what's happening now, especially as we get farther in the series too, because just doing Fourth Wing, like you said, it probably would go more on to where it's a history book that's in their past. But as you get more of Iron Flame, it definitely comes across like it could be in the moment, and that they've just written it out for future generations on what not to do. So I'm curious.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I think the books though that were about venin, I think those are maybe written in the past, because they'll say like property of Cliffsbane, which we know Cliffsbane like disappears in this book.
I should have highlighted all of them because they're super important, but I guess I could just go back to each chapter at that point.
Some of them definitely feel like they are from the past, but some of them...
Yeah, the ones that come from the Flyers group in their school, I question of if it's from just in general, because they've been living this hell for years. It's not like they
have a full
have
book
any
on
break.
venin.
Yeah, exactly.
Are some though that I was just like, wow, this could definitely be from the future.
I think specifically the ones that get more into how riders are able to get into the battle with venin, because if you think about it from a Flyer's point of view, it was primarily just them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess talking like still on venin path.
Yeah.
What do you think about this stuff?
Oh boy.
I think Varish, however the hell you say his name, was venin.
I was trying to figure that out too, because at the end we find out that Violet said that Jack gave her some type of energy force during one of their battles, and she didn't know what it was, but it was so Varish had a lot of power for one guy.
It definitely was in one of the little paragraph things at the top that I must not have highlighted, but it talks about like kind of like the stages of becoming a venin. And really only until you're at the final stage, like the highest rank, is when you are red-eyed, veins bulging.
Yes.
24/7. In the beginning, when you're a cadet, actually, I think I just saw this one. When you're the cadet, you can kind of hide it a little more.
Yeah.
I'm back to my fact-finding mission. Okay, right here. Defeating a dark wielder begins with knowing where they rank in age and experience. Initiates have reddish rings to their eyes that come and go depending on how often they drain. A Sim's eyes fluctuate in degrees of red, and their veins distend when riled. Sages, those responsible for initiates, eyes are permanently red, their veins perpetually distended toward their temples, expanding with age. Mavens, their generals, had never been captured for examination. So you have to think, Varish was constantly going underground with Nolan to mend Jack. So he could have just been, oh, we're already in here, let me channel from the ground in here, and then Nolan can like give me my stuff so my eyes aren't red.
Yeah.
Because there are lines where Violet talks about the color of his eyes being blue. Also, though, like, how would they have found Jack?
I don't know.
So I think it goes back to the runes. Like, when you become venin, there's like a rune on you or something where they can find you.
Yeah. That'd be a good thing.
Because Jack was definitely venin before he died.
He was, which also questions if when he got, taken down by all the boulders and everything, did he channel in that moment, or did someone else help him channel? Because he obviously hid for a while, and then surprise, he's the second year has been working on him for a while.
He didn't have red eyes anytime they saw him, because they said like when Jack came back, he walks into battle brief and he has bright blue eyes.
Yeah. It's also interesting because when he obviously saves Violet's life was when at the top,
at the assassins, when she's on the academic building.
Yeah, he's already venin at this point.
Yeah, he's saving her so that the sage can take her.
Right. And I also was questioning, was it because Nolan at the end kept saying to Jack, you can fight it off. There's a way to get out of this. Yeah. Was he, sedated at that point where he is drugged up in a way that he couldn't go into his venin tendencies at that moment? Maybe. Or who knows?
Yeah. I was thinking more like, because at the end when they're like, I'll get such a reward for bringing you to him, I think he was trying to keep her alive for the sage. He didn't want to get in trouble for killing her. The other thing though about Varys that made me think, because we never get the red eye or the descended vein situation from him, is he makes a comment, I think it's like when she's being interrogated, where he says he controls Solus. Yep. And then I think it's Panchek is the one who says it, where he says, oh, so are you telling me that you controlled Solus to burn all those cadets? And he gets like very quiet, like, no, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And so just like something that was like, And then at the end, right before Jack kills Bade, he talks about controlling her instead of the dragon controlling him. And he said, they want us to think that they control us, but we can control them.
Yeah. Because her eyes were cloudy and everything too.
Yeah. Violet notes that, like, her eyes normally were golden, but they were opaque that time. So I was like, somehow he's putting, I think, the venin energy into her. And Solus, we don't know because he only has one fucking eye. But he's such an evil dragon.
He is. Yeah. And the fact that at the end, I feel like everything feels like the end of Iron Flame to me. Because in the cave, how he obviously, his rider's not there anymore. I mean, he definitely had that wanting to go energy, but they felt some type of force in that room. Because didn't they say they were trying to track ruins at that point? And
and they felt it in the cave.
But then Solus is there.
There was a box there too, though.
Okay, so I don't know if maybe he was just tracking them as well to find, to try and kill Violet type thing.
And Darna gets questioned by the elders for killing him, and they let her go. So maybe they realized, like, he had been contaminated almost.
It would not shock me because they were both vicious, his dragon and him, which granted he could have heightened his dragon's viciousness by being venin too. Because
there's another quote too. Let me try and find that one. Where basically it talks about dark wielders. They have like heightened abilities.
Yes, I have a note on that I was curious on.
Though there is some debate, it is greatly believed that turning venin heightens one of the dark wielder's senses. It is this scholar's belief that the one responsible for the death of King Grethwild, which we've never met him, developed keener eyesight. For not even the best of His Majesty's royal flyers could see through the darkness the venin hid within to slay our beloved king. One, could that paragraph be referring to Xaden? The royal flyers could not see through the darkness the venin hid within. Shadows? Shadow daddy?
Yeah.
We'll see if the shadows get stronger, but so clearly one of the things Varys says, like, he's like the best at doing the interrogation because he can see the weaknesses. Did that become his heightened thing? I don't know. I just think he's venin.
So,
or was. Thank God he died.
Yeah. So a couple of things on the people being venin and the heightened stuff. So I had it in here specifically. At the end of Iron Flame, it's Xaden's POV, and when he's going down to visit Jack, he literally says that his shadows completely hide him from the guards. They didn't even know he was there. He goes, this might be something that's heightened or whatever is going on. And it was right as he was walking down the corridor to go meet Jack. And I go, it's already happening. We're literally
that's
maybe
a text from the future then.
Okay, yeah, because then on top of it too is...
And we haven't met this King Grethwild.
I don't know who this is. So that's where I was questioning, because we find out that his mom is obviously, I don't want to say still alive, but TBD. So is there a whole different section? Because he being Xaden, says to all of the generals, General Sorengale and everyone, that you turned your back on your allies years ago. You haven't talked to them in a long time. He knows something about another group that had fought with them against the venin that they've just exiled. And I question where this group is and who they are. I really feel like his mom's going to be some part of this some way. I don't know to what extent she becomes involved in the story, but we only just find out of, oh, well, where's your mom? No one talks about her. She's not on anything. And it says, we had the agreement until the kid.
I was like, where's his mom? They had like a marriage agreement until and then after he turned 10, she could leave.
Yeah, I don't know.
And she did.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to bring up about people potentially being venin before we knew. When there is a cadet who is trying to kill Violet and one of her friends pretends, I'm Violet, blah, 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 and then he snaps her neck. Violet mentions that he has red eyes. I couldn't tell if he was drugged or if he was a venin and just was surging through the power. Because it came from Colonel Atos too.
Yep, which then I wrote a note on my like comment about, I think, Varish's venin. I said, it also makes me think Dane's dad could be too, because Colonel Atos, when he gets sent away by Violet's mom for like the stunt he pulled with War Games, he brings in Varish to take over Abaskaya.
Yeah.
AKA, he must be working with him because Jack talks about the end, like, while you were bringing weapons out, we were bringing weapons in. So that means they have someone on the inside. I think it was Colonel Atos. He knew he was being shipped out. I can't be turning the people to venin now because I'm not here. Let me bring in someone else, Varish.
Yeah.
And he was the one who put these assassins out.
Yeah, there's just some sketch. And they also knew how much Jack hated Violet to begin with. So who better to create his own, rebellion within the wards? Mm-hmm. I mean,
it's crazy, and it just goes back to my original thought. This I had right after reading Iron Flame, November 2023. I rewatched my video I made about it, and I still feel the same. The scribes are being trained to become venin, because how else are they able to do it within the wards? Like, the flyers can't even use their magic because of the wards. So the only place they can do it is underground, because even Jack is standing next to the wardstone. Granted, it has just been broken, but he makes a comment that says, there is so much power underneath us right now.
Yeah.
The scribes, they live underground, basically. Like, the archives, I think, are like normal level, like the library part of it.
Yeah.
But then there's all those vaults underneath.
Yeah, I'm with you.
General Sorrengail says to Violet, the reason why, like, she's telling her the reason why she put her in the Riders Quadrant. And she was like, because I knew if you stayed in the scribe, you would have ascended to being like Markham's apprentice, basically, which means he would have brought you into the fold. He would have filled you in about all the venin, all the stuff we've been redacting through history, and you wouldn't have really had the tools to fight back. Because she said, I knew you were going to want to fight back. So I put you in the Riders Quadrant to, like, kind of save you a little bit, but give you the tool. Like, now she can fight and do stuff. She wouldn't have been able to do stuff as a scribe. Yeah. And so how many people have moved up to that position? And then they talk about those two paths the scribes can go on. And I think, I forget what the names were, but Jasenia's on one of them, where it's like, you have to be really trustworthy. You have to pass all these tests. And I think it's tests to see if you are worthy of the knowledge.
Yeah.
And then they make you turn venin.
Yeah. 2 points on this. One, about the power underground, beneath us. 2 different areas we have where there's a correspondence in one of the beginning of the chapters. It's from Violet's dad saying that scribes hold all the power. And basically, it's mentioned many times throughout both books that scribes hold all of the power. Yes, writers are badass in the sky and everything, but at the end of the day, the people who have the power to erase history, modify history, or completely change history down the line are underground. So when I first read it, that Jack was saying there's so much power underneath. At first, when I did the first read, back when we read it last year, or 2 years ago now, I thought he was just saying that the scribes have all of the power, which still could be true, but to the point of the fact where you're saying is if they had to use that truth, they're trustworthy, they can do something, they could be having way more power because they're finding out how to be venin underneath. And then the second part is to when you said how General Sorrengail has Violet go into the Riders Quadrant. And at the end, when she sacrifices herself basically to power the wards, she says, this is why you are here. We did this so that you'd be strong enough for this moment. I think she knew there's something in the father's research that we don't know that I think is going to help determine what is going to happen going forward with the venin. I think that might be where she was saying, we needed you strong enough to be able to do this because I knew this was going to happen down the line. And we just didn't know to what extent who was going to be around to help save. But she has 2 badass other kids. And she never said that either of them was going to be the power. It's Violet because she has the mind of a scribe, but, has I don't want to say the body of a writer. That sounds stupid. But, she has that attitude of a writer and everything. So, I don't know.
2 things off of that. I agree. I think her dad, well, we know he did research on Feathertails. I think it goes deeper, though. I think while he did research on Feathertails, he found out about the 7th Den. So I think he knows where Andarna, like where her hatching grounds are. Because we know the black dragons, Taryn and Coda, come from the hatching grounds right outside Ryerson House.
Yeah.
We need to know where Andarna comes from because we need more of her to be able to power that second ward stone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like, how the hell did she get to the Veil? Like, as an egg?
They said she was left behind. The elders have to know.
Someone dropped her off.
Yeah.
It was
Who
like,
the fuck
wait
was
here.
just, okay, bye.
And she said she waited 650 years to
Mm-hmm.
hatch until she heard about a weak girl who's the daughter of the general.
Mm-hmm.
And Violet's like, I didn't even know I was going to be a rider then. And she's like, but I did.
And wasn't that around the time that her dad died?
Maybe. I think there's like some type of prophecy or shit happening. Again, Harry Potter. Like, we're going to the, whatever, the Hall of Prophecies. We're going to go see all those little globes.
The orbs.
Yeah. So I think he has research on Andarna's den. I think while doing the research, he found the truth about venin. I also think, because they all talk about, like when she talks about that book that her dad gave her.
Yeah.
Rhiannon is like, oh, I heard stories about this too. All of them were oral. My mom used to tell them. And they all had different stories about venin from their different provinces. None of them were written. I think the reason why that book does not exist in the archives is because it is a one of one. I think her
Oh my
father wrote
God.
the book.
Damn.
And he compiled all the venin stories and like figured it out, but knew he couldn't publish a book, venin, like they were doing at Cliffsbane. And so he was like, here's a fable book. No one's gonna think anything if these are all stories that everyone is telling in all these other provinces.
Interesting. Now that even brings even more of what the hell is going on with the scribes, because when Jasenia is trying to find this thing, no one has any idea of what she's talking about. Not even a, this is classified, we're not supposed to use it. It is a, we have no idea what you're talking about. She's almost at high clearance. Like, she is now where Violet was going to be if she continued. Let's be real. That's Markham's next person in line.
Yep. And here's the thing. Now, I don't think the dad is alive because they all are very confident that he died, which means I'm assuming they saw his body. We don't have confirmation that they saw his body, though. But I'm going to assume that they saw his body. So. Now, I'm sure he loves his son, but, like, enough to immediately cause a heart attack seems suspicious to me. Like, the mom didn't survive. It hardened her, but, like, she survived. I'm thinking what happened was someone found out about the research. He was poisoned.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were telling him, like, you need to become venin, you know too much now, and maybe he rejected it. I don't know. I think he did not die of a heart attack. Like, there's something, he was killed. He was offed.
Agreed.
I'm thinking it's by other scribes. But my other thought is maybe in the, you know how, like, people, when they just get too immersed in their research, it kind of makes them go crazy, or they start to become what they're researching. Or even when people method act and they all of a sudden lose all sense of themselves and they become this person, like, you know, I'm wondering if maybe he became venin as a way to, like, get in to really learn their secrets, and that's why she has that silver streak, because he was venin when they made her.
Could be.
But because Suri is the only other person that has that silver streak.
Yeah, and we don't know much. The people that we meet that are part of the assembly, we only know a bit about. It's very surface level.
Yeah, and I just
We're gonna
we
find
do
out
not know
more.
her signet either.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's kind of mean towards Violet.
Very.
I don't know. The silver streak definitely seems like something to me that, like, there's like, oh, you were sick, whatever. Why were you sick?
It's intentional.
Do you think maybe she had venin in her when she was born? And maybe that's why they had to work with Nolan. Maybe that's why he mended her so much. He was mending the venin out of her. That's why he knew what to do, like how to at least do it a little bit with Jack.
It could have been.
Maybe that's why they knew to go to Jack.
Yeah.
Or knew to go to Nolan for Jack.
Yeah. That is so interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The dad, there's still a lot of question marks there.
It's also interesting, too, one thing that is related, but when everyone dies in Navarre and everything, they burn all of the items.
Belongings.
Brennan, we know that she burned everything, except for the fact that Mira saved a couple different things. Now, when Violet is off in Ryerson House, her room stayed exactly the same because her mother literally says your stuff is exactly where it is. I question if when the father died, did she keep all of his belongings and not burn everything? because I question that she knew way more than what she was, leading people to believe. Even her own group, I think that she was hiding stuff from her generals and colonels and stuff like that. And I question if she was going to have the kids help out with that, with the rest of her husband's research. Was she going to have the three of them continue?
She definitely talks to Violet at some point. She makes note of like your father's research, blah, blah, blah. And she says something like, you know where it is.
Where the fuck could it be then?
And Violet's like, yeah, I do. So Violet knows where his research is. And now I don't know why she hasn't thought to go and look at it. Like, you had questions about Andarna. Why you knew he had research on feathertails? Like, why wouldn't you go look for it? So I honestly think now that she finds out Andarna is this 7th dragon and she has all these questions for Andarna, I feel like one of Violet's missions in Onyx Storm is going to be retrieving her father's research.
I am so glad you went there, because where I was going to say is, you know how when we get the little excerpt from Onyx Storm and it mentions that there are scribes basically who are venin, they're wearing the robes, or maybe they're hiding as scribes. I question if that was part of their mission, is to try and get the research, and then they encounter way too many, because at the end of Iron Flame, they basically say, all right, we're going to abandon Basgaev. But General Sorengale specifically says that the archives are locked off and they are secure. What did they hide from the rest that they didn't want people getting into? And the fact that this goes back to, you know, what your father's research is. It has to be somewhere in there that they're going to find and try and get.
And they have all those vaults down there.
Yeah. Just because the king, we went to that one, but there's way more. There has to be more.
I definitely think there's more in there. And if I'm remembering the Onyx Storm excerpt correctly, there's a lot of conversation about, like, and even the blurb, like, finding the truth. And I think that's finding the truth of what her dad knew.
And I think the last books will be trying to battle through that truth and what it actually means for everyone involved. Because I don't think anyone, I don't want to say that I don't think anyone is surviving. I don't think there's going to be many survivors from the core group. I think it's going to be a few. It would not shock me if it's just Sawyer and Jasenia, like,
with like missing a leg.
Missing a leg, and they're just thriving. You know what I mean?
How are they going to heal him, by the way? Like, we need to get closure on that.
I don't know.
They can't grow a leg for him.
No, because he can't be medic, because they don't have the leg.
So how's he going to ride? I have questions. He's going to end up with Jasenia, though. Maybe the two of them are going to, like, maybe he's going to be trained as a scribe now.
Maybe. I don't know. He could.
Yeah.
There's so much.
There is a lot. Also, like, we learn, like, she's so set and, like, I need to find a primary source of, like, how they made the wards. She ends up with Warwick's journal, and then when they finally get the other one from her mother, and when they compare, they're like, no, this one's, he's lying in his journal because he was trying to protect it. So it's like, even the primary sources we have can't be trusted.
Yeah.
So I think, like, she's going to get her father's research, but then it's also a question of, like, is what her father's telling her is true? Was he influenced? Is he a venin and he's tricking you? But somehow, like, there has to be some sort of prophecy. If Andarna knew to hatch at a certain time, waiting for her, the sage knows about all of her abilities and is, like, waiting for her, wants to wield her. And I'm just so curious, like, what is the end goal for the venin? Like,
I don't know.
Drain all the power. Like, eventually you're going to use it all up.
Right.
Because, like, the ground dies when they channel from it.
Yeah, and they're making the wyvern when they could have dragons that they could go after and I guess get that power for them if they can control them. But to your point, at the end of the day, this world, I know obviously it's not just this little section, but when do you stop? And you basically will destroy the world. You'll destroy it and have nothing to take from.
Eventually, there will be no grass that's alive. I do think that they are going to have to move. Like, I definitely think they were going to the Isle Kingdom. In the next book, because when she fights at the pit, I forget what that guy's name is, the Viscount, and she puts together really quickly, the venin can't channel because these rocks that built the stadium have been, like, imported from an area where the magic was already drained from it.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have to move their headquarters from Orisha to the Isle Kingdom to protect themselves, because why would the venin come at them if when they get there they can't recharge their magic?
Yeah, and the fact that they know how to bring up the ward stones, and the fact they can imbue the stone and everything, and all of that, is they have the knowledge to do that part. And they
could
could
just be that
technically,
seventh dragon.
yeah, and they could technically just bring it wherever they could create one rather wherever they need to. So there's definitely more ward stones than just the two that they know of. And I think, to your point, I think we're going to the Isles and it's going to be something there. There has to be. I mean, because where the hell did these venin just start popping up randomly? I mean, even at the first war that they mentioned years ago, and the fact that Indarna, waited this many years and was left behind and everything. How did the venin start this many years ago? Like, who was the first one that then is popping around and trying to create a little cult and within the ranks of others? It's just, there's so many unknowns.
The other thing, this just popped in my head. I didn't think about this consciously while reading, but they kept thinking it was 6 dragons to power the Wardstone because it was the first 6 riders.
Yeah.
But they needed 7 dragons, so wouldn't have technically been 7 riders. Now, Indarna, we find out from Taryn, she will be able to fly, but she will never be able to bear a rider because he said she did not grow that muscle because her growth wasn't accelerated when she had to use her power at Bresson. But what if that 7th den of dragons isn't supposed to have that front muscle? So they are never supposed to bond humans because that's not what their purpose is. Their purpose is to be a dragon and be there for the Empyrean. Because they say that like the dragons and humans came together for like convenience. They needed because they needed to help each other out. But if the dragons could have figured it out on their own, they would have said fuck the humans. But they needed them in that time, and then it just continued as a partnership, a unification. But what if that one was like, well, I can't hold a human, so I'm never going to bond with them, and that's why we don't see them.
Could be.
And that's why it was the first 6 riders, because they bonded with these 6 types of dragons that can bear a rider. And the 7th dragon, Indarna's Den, is never going to bear a rider, so that's why there wasn't a 7th one.
It could be. Because literally there's no way that she can have a rider. And if they kept that as that's the truth for her entire den, it would be accurate that yes, there's 6 riders, but 7 breeds. And that's what Jessenia kind of translates at the end too, when she realizes, oh no, there was a mistake. This was a lie.
Yeah. And it's not like she has the muscle and it's just weak. Taryn says you cannot mend it because the muscle does not exist.
Yeah.
How did she not have this muscle, It's not like, oh, you go into your dreamless sleep and you're just like she's walking. She's a baby. When you're born, you have all your muscles you're born with. You don't just like develop extra ones when you're 4 years old.
Yeah.
If you're going to come out with like you're missing stuff, it's going to be when you are born.
Yeah.
So I think that could be where he's kind of, because they're not always truthful and they will give just enough, but they hold some stuff back.
They do selective truth for sure.
Taryn doesn't even know that she's a 7th different type of dragon. So he just thinks she's a black dragon like him.
That's where I think the elders have some information and were hiding it, because they had mentioned that I think Indarna had said the elders know that Taryn is so powerful and everything, and she always had wished that she was, part of his den and everything, but none of the hatchlings understood her, and I really think that they're hiding something from each other too. Because, we find that out that they are hiding stuff from their humans as well, but it would not shock me if some of the elders, like Coda, have other information that they're not telling all the dragons yet until they can be trusted fully. And Taryn's obviously going to find out that Indarna is not, a black dragon, but I just don't know what that means for the actual dragon kind.
And just like thinking, like, if a human is born and they're blind, you're down a sense. So normally like they would have better hearing or better smell. So people say. So there has to be a reason why, like, out of all the dragons, her den can camouflage with stuff and hide very well, where like Violet could not tell that she was literally part of the mountains. So is that making up for they've kind of had to adapt and evolve, because I'm not going to have a rider that can protect me. I need to be able to do all the protecting myself. They now have these skills. I don't know, just obviously they knew about the 7 breeds because they used all 7 to power the Wardstone. So like, why didn't that 7th one have a rider?
It had to be something intentional. It is not just because that she stopped time and didn't, and stunted her growth or whatever. There's definitely something there.
Like, I just feel like she would have had that muscle as a baby, and then in her dreamless sleep, like, it grows, it strengthens, whatever. But to not even have the muscle makes me think it was never there to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to find out more about the seventh den in Onyx Storm. I just don't know if we will, because there's so many truths that we need to find out, and I don't know how much we can find out in 3 out of 5 of a series, or if we'll find out a few in 3 and then we find out more in 4. Because
yeah, it's crazy to think like we still have 3 more books.
I know.
I feel like so much has already happened.
And think of all of the theories that people have and how everyone interprets the books, and we're only 2 in. I cannot wait to read the 3rd. I'm already have anxiety of how it's going to be, but yeah, it's going to open my mind up to so many other possibilities.
Now, I do think it has been said by Rebecca that we will find out Violet's second signet in Onyx Storm. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about some theories about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, most popular one going around is people think she is a truth sayer, which is what Lieutenant Nora is as well. Mm-hmm. So I was like really looking for that in this. And to be honest, I don't know how convinced I am of it.
I couldn't find it.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm on the bandwagon, blah, blah, blah. But after reading it, I was like, I really don't. Because Rebecca says there's one line in Iron Flame that would answer it for you. And I could not. The only line I saw was at the end when they are meeting with General Melgren. And they're talking about the wards at Arisha. Mira says the wards are fine. Because they're like, oh, your wards are like fucked up.
Yeah.
And she's like, the wards are fine. And then there's one line where Violet says, she lies as easily as Xaden does. Mm-hmm. As a true sayer, you can pick up on people's lies. But there are so many instances where people are lying to her and she's not able to pick it. Obviously, like, her whole life growing up, she hadn't manifested the signet yet, so she wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think she's a truth sayer because I feel like she still has been deceived so many times.
Agreed.
Or maybe people are just really good about their words around her.
Maybe.
But it wasn't enough for me to think that she was.
No. I have some cracked out ideas on what her signet could be.
Oh, goodness. I'm nervous.
I am questioning if she is or can be transforming into a dragon. Because like, what the fuck? Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Explain.
So, a couple different things. The fact that we had talked about her speaking to Coda at the end of Iron Flame, and the fact that we don't get any dialogue, we just get some, nodding, whatever. I want to say that's intentional, because if she can't speak to other dragons or she isn't a dragon, that's fine. Maybe it's intentional for the fact that, yes, we actually can't, speak to other ones. You can just understand each other and that's it. But the reason why I'm questioning it is Taryn specifically calls her Silver One and calls Indarna Golden One, even after the fact that she has changed. It's always his name for the two of them. Now, it could just be that he nicknamed them because, she has a little bit of silver hair and Darna's literally freaking gold in the first book. So I don't know if that's where it is, but I am so curious to see, because the whole series is about dragons. And at what point does a dragon obey and listen to a rider? The only time we have seen someone else's dragon listen to someone is when Violet asked Coda to do something for her. How else are they going to talk to the rest of the dragon kind if they can't have someone speaking for them? Because Taryn's a moody bitch, and there's only so much that I think people will listen to him, and it's not as if Violet can go into those meetings. It's only for the dragons. So I don't know if I'm reading too much into the fact that it's about the dragon series, that there's some way that she can be that, but I don't know. It, like I said, super far-fetched. The only reason I can think of is the fact that she's able to talk, and that I think it could help in the future. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but like I said, we're just going all out in the middle of nowhere with my theories. She's going to
grow scales.
Yeah, she's just going to grow scales.
The other one that I've seen people talk about is her being intrinsic.
Yeah.
I don't think, though. I'm sorry. Like, there's so many things where she's just being a dumb bitch about. Or I'm just like, come on. Like,
also, to copy-paste. I don't know.
Yeah, and we saw what happened with Jeremiah. Like, the voices just, like, overtake your mind. Like, there's no way of, like, not knowing you're that. The only thing I saw that could support that is during the famous throne scene, she can hear Xaden's inner monologue, but that could also be him just like really letting go of the bond and she's fully in there. So I don't know. I don't think she's intrinsic. So going along with your thing, I really genuinely think it's something we haven't seen yet.
I agree too.
And I was also thinking, not that I think she's going to like grow a tail and get scales, but I did think hers is going to be like, I don't know, they talk so much about the conduit of like those orbs that she can power her. I think she's going to be like the conduit for like the venin, the dragons, because the fact that she can kind of communicate with the sage through her nightmares.
Oh my God, yeah.
But then she also can go and talk to other dragons and they don't eat her. I don't know. I feel like she's just kind of like the piece that's going to put everyone together. I don't know. And I just, not that it's like a power, but because like she was trained as a scribe, but she's so good at being able to get a couple pieces and be able to figure out a puzzle so fast. Like, I think it's just because she's super intelligent in that, but like, I don't think it's a signet, but it is something that like no one else is doing.
Yeah.
She's so quick at being able to figure out like battle plans and where things are going. And I wonder if like, part of it is the scribe, but also part of it is maybe she can see into the sage, the dragons.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still don't feel confident about any of my answers about her second signet. And I genuinely think it's going to be something we have not seen.
I agree. The other one I had in terms of with the battle plans and being able to see so well is I had it as potentially, can she see into the future or be able to understand where people are going? Now I know Xaden has the intrinsic on the side of he can see intentions and what people are looking to do. But I question if she can see things happening before it happens. Not in terms of the battle that
like
Melvin
That's
can.
so Raven, psychic.
Yeah, a little bit, because the fact that her nightmare with this... I'm sorry, that's great. Just... the fact that her nightmare grows. Every time she has this nightmare, it changes, and it also builds on top of each other. And then...
it's a continued conversation.
Right. And and Taryn, I think, said, stop it and just wake up and end it. But it sounds as if she literally can't. She's stuck in that moment. Like, and then when Xaden's getting basically, toyed around from the sage and that he was pretty much close to burnout, it's the same or very similar events happening. It wasn't her, but it was Xaden. And we know during that whole piece, she actually can see through the eyes of Taryn or Sigale or Xaden. I forget which one it was, but she sees it happening as if she was there and has to stop herself. So I can't tell if she can see.
Oh my God. Yes. I did not put that together until literally just this second. She's not seeing herself in the nightmare. Because she just sees the sage. She's living through Xaden's nightmare.
Right, because he says, I had that nightmare. So what the hell?
Having it while she's in bed next to him.
Right. And he has the...
You know the book is so much more impactful to just land on, you should be scared of me, red eyes. No, he's a venin.
No.
The fact that Rebecca put another 4 pages in to show them sleeping in a bed, Violet sleeping soundly, Xaden having that nightmare, and then obviously going to talk to Jack.
Yeah.
But the fact that that nightmare part is in, I thought she was just trying to say like they both are living the same thing, but no, she's looking through someone else.
She can see things because it is weird. It is so weird how she was able to see it and then goes, I need to stop.
It out though. I think she thinks it's her.
Yeah.
Oh, so then that changes my whole thoughts on like if she's gonna become venin, because I was like, oh, she got told they're gonna turn for love.
I mean, but she still could. She still
turn.
could, because with Xaden's, this is the thing that I said, with Xaden having the ability to read intentions of others, they might be heightened now that he's also venin. So I question if their bond will also strengthen things that Violet has too. Because I mean, everything that she has been obviously more powerful when he's around. I mean,
when he's around,
Taryn jokes like, "Let me get the wing leader" type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's interesting. I like that theory a lot.
And there's no name for it.
And we haven't seen that.
Yeah.
And Rebecca did say one of her favorite signets is distance wielding, which she said we haven't seen yet in the book, so it's going to come. But I didn't think that that was Violet. So basically the thought is like within a second you can be hundreds of miles away in a different location.
Yeah.
I
think it's going to be someone
I
else.
I don't think she would announce that in a press conference when we're like all sitting here being like, what's Violet's second signet?
Yeah.
So I think that could be maybe Garrick's, or Arik hasn't manifested his signet yet. I think he's going to be very important.
Yeah.
But no, that's crazy. She can like look through other people.
Yeah. And it's one line. She's literally saying, I need to get out of their mind because I need to focus on the present of trying to get this ward stone back and working.
Crazy.
And the fact that the throne scene, she can also see
through Xaden
what he's thinking.
What he's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's 100% that. Stamp. That's it. That's it. You have cracked the code. What the name of that's going to be, I have no clue, but that's 1,000% it. Because, and I was trying to figure out, like, the signets are based off, like, what you need as a person, and she needs information.
What does she need? Mm-hmm.
And think about when, oh my God, this is, like, great. This is, like, happening in real time. Think about in the Fourth Wing, when she had to prep for the battles they were going to do on the mat. She had the insight. She knew where to find, like, the board that had the upcoming matches. Mm-hmm. She could prep. Once she figures out that she's in someone else, now she'd have to figure out who she's in. That's giving her the information she needs to come up with a plan.
And the fact
then
that
she can come, like, you know, like saying, like, when she went and she poisoned those people so she could win the battle. So it's similar to Melgren's. Like, he can see the outcome of the battle, but she can see how we're going to get to the battle.
Right. And I truly think that there is a reason that her and Xaden are tethered together. They're gonna complement each other. They're gonna complement each other, which I had gone in a far land of, is she the light and he's the darkness, and that's how they help each other. I don't know, but that could just be a common theme. I don't think that's actually a signet, but I really think that his heightened awarenesses and signets are gonna complement what she needs.
Oh my God, I'm so in on this one.
I mean, if it doesn't, I'm gonna be bummed because I just put in a lot of thought into this one while I was reading last night. It's just
I literally, by the end of the book, I was like, I have no clue. Like, I don't think it's anything we've seen. I think it's something darker where she can communicate somehow. Like,
yeah,
she's with the people. Because I was like, this is weird that I was like, she's having this conversation with the sage, like, through her dreams. And I was like,
it's wild.
Can she enter people's dreams? I have no clue. Maybe that's what it is. She can enter someone's night when they're sleeping. The only person she sleeps next to ever is Xaden.
Right.
I wonder if she goes and sleeps next to Rhiannon. Could she enter her dreams and see what's going on?
I mean, because she hasn't.
I don't know.
She has not been in a room with her, and since before that she gets.
Yeah, but they were in like bunks. Like they weren't sharing. Like
they
shares
weren't
a bed
next.
with Xaden.
Yeah. I wonder if it could be similar to Dane, where she touches people and can get that type of sense. Because everything for her is heightened emotions. Bring things on.
More. Does she only have the nightmares when she stays with Xaden?
I think so, because the last one, she woke up and said, all right, I can't be damaged. You know, I can't be harmed. Xaden's here. It's when it gets very far of the you will turn or something like that, and I can't wait to use your powers, yada, yada, yada type thing.
Oh, okay. We got to keep an eye on this. What happens? But I think you're onto something. Whether she is entering dreams or she can just enter people's bodies, I don't know.
Yeah.
But something like she's seeing through other people.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so interesting.
Yeah.
Just a few other things I wanted to touch on. So there's just one last thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
I would like to go on the record and say I was very suspicious of Mira after the first read of Iron Flame, and for the last year I've been like very like, where's Mira? I'm very suspicious of her. Like, we got to keep an eye on her.
Yeah.
And after this reread, I'm not as suspicious, mainly because all I could remember was like, oh, she just disappears at the end of Iron Flame. We have no clue where she is, but we also don't know where Brennan goes. It's just like, I think they're just dealing with their mom's death and they're like going to like bury her or something.
Yeah.
So I'm not as suspicious now.
They could be going to get her belongings because of the fact that it's a tradition to burn everything if they know that there's something there, why not take everything and anything you can to help out? Because a mom's not forthcoming with information. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and she was like really upset that like she wasn't there for the mom's last moment.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, my first read of it, I was so suspicious. This one, I'm not feeling as suspicious. I definitely think the siblings will kind of turn on each other at some point, or like have some type of like push and pull.
Yeah.
Especially between Brennan and Mira, there seems to be a lot of like jealousy between the two of them.
Yeah.
But I'd like to just go on record and say I'm not as suspicious of Mira. I still hate Dane. I forgot how little he's in Iron Flame though.
Very little.
He in like the beginning, he packs there's an impact with him, but
yeah,
he's in it very little. Thank God.
I don't know why, but and this is I gotta go to my notes. I wrote down a couple hot takes in terms of people that we don't like in the series, and we know that Dane is. I think Rebecca has said that she is a Dane sympathizer, and if you really think about it. In all of Iron Flame, after he realizes what is going on and the truth of everything, and that Varish is, doing all these terrible things, and the fact that he can literally read everything that Violet has done, and the fact that she pushes her own thoughts of the fight into him, and that he sees it and everything. I really think that we're going to get some type of redemption arc. And I don't hate him as much rereading it a second time. I still don't like him. Do not get me wrong. I wanted to smack him across the face every single time in Fourth Wing. Did not like him. But I do question if he's going to become pivotal to changing something. Because towards the end when he starts doing the journals with Violet and she says, I spend way too much time with Dane, all of his stuff. I really question if he's going to either sacrifice himself or find something that helps her and Xaden out. Because he does start to say, oh, don't tell Xaden, but I really like his plan with blah, 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 and all of these things. And
he knows a lot of the dead languages.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to help with the translations.
Right. And there has to be something, because why would you bring him back? As bad as it sounds, Xaden says he read his intentions, that he wasn't going to do anything harmful. I mean, he is...
Yeah,
I guess, vouched for. But yeah, I don't know. It's not a super hot take, but it's definitely I know people are so on the train of kill Dane. And maybe he does need to get killed off, but maybe it has to be for some benefit. Because I don't think he's just going to die just because. There's going to be some reason there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Even though I still hate him.
Yeah. And Kat's one I thought I hated more. But I can understand why she hated Violet so much. It was because she wanted the throne.
She doesn't me as much this time.
No, I go, she's just someone who expected she was going to get some type of life, and now here's some random girl coming in, and and you're saying he doesn't love anyone. He's not capable of love, which totally untrue based on the whole series. But it's
yeah, she's just jealous.
Yeah, I think she's going to become important, like you said, with the three brothers story. That I think she's going to become important, but I'm curious to see where that goes.
Like the strongest flyer.
Yeah. I'm curious if a flyer can also bond with dragons. Like, if you think about it, it's really based on where you live, right? That you just choose either a griffin or a dragon. Like, it's not...
Yeah, because they don't have dragons over there.
Right. Like, can you have multiple? Have a whole crew of animals just following you around?
Maybe. The griffins look so cool.
They look adorable. It's just, here's this little badass
I would take
thing.
one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else did you have for hot takes?
That was really it, because I know a lot of people are on the hate Dane train, and I'm with you, but I don't know. I mean...
Yeah, he's definitely going to become pivotal. I was worried that she was going to maybe sympathize for him in a way where, like, Xaden would leave in an act of, like, protecting Violet from him being venin, and Dane was going to then take it as the opportunity to, like, sneak back in, which that would send me over the frickin' edge.
Yeah.
But I did have people say that, like, in my TikTok comments, that Rebecca said, like, there's not going to be a love triangle.
Yeah.
Xaden and Violet are going to be endgame. Also, like, come on, Dane. Like, she literally has said to you, I don't know how many times, like, I have no... Like, even when they kissed, she's like, there's nothing there. I'm not into you. I barely want to be your friend now. Yeah. So, yeah, I do think he will be part of translating the text and maybe making sure that Jasenia and the other scribes are doing it accurately.
Yeah, agreed, because he's going to want to follow the rules, and if following the rules means telling the actual truth of what's happening, I think he will, especially because the fact that, you know, his dad and everyone else that was super close to him that was going to bring him up the ranks lied to him the entire time. I mean, and we find out obviously through Arik coming on board that all three of them have a lot of information because their parents are so high up in Navarre. And I think that's going to be huge, is having those core people of, oh yeah, I found this out when I was a kid because my dad brought me here for some reason. Or the king's son's going to have a lot of information that
I think
we don't know about.
Going to be really important in the next book. That was the other thing in that same video. People were like, oh, no, I don't think Dane's going to like sneak in. I think Violet's going to have something with Arik.
I don't think so.
Which, like, if we have to have like a separation of Violet and Xaden and someone else has to sneak in, I would take him over Dane.
Yeah.
But people were saying that they picked up on he's really flirty with her, they have history, blah, blah, blah. But I did not pick up on any flirting from him.
I didn't either. I just saw we have been friends for years.
We've been friends, but like it didn't seem anything where I was like, oh, there's something there.
No, I didn't read anything to that. And I really keep going back to the fact that Xaden and Violet, their lives are so intertwined that regardless of if they didn't end up together, everything that they do is dependent on the other not dying. So I don't see that there's a way that they can be separated for a long, long time. I think for a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be as extensive as some people are thinking. But
yeah,
I mean,
and then I had some other people leave comments being like, no, that person's going to be whoever Andarna mates with, their rider.
Interesting.
Could be like coming into the Xaden Violet dynamic, but I don't think Andarna's gonna mate with anyone.
I don't know. Again, the seventh den we don't know anything about, so it could be
she's so young right now,
right? And who knows? They might only, as weird as it sounds, they might only be with their same den for a reason. I mean, they might have a different purpose than everyone else.
Yeah,
because they don't bond with riders, so who knows?
Yeah. And they have to procreate somehow, but
yeah.
Only other thing I thought of, because I did put like in our little table like what type of dragons people had.
Yeah.
And I did just notice that a lot of the people that seem to be kind of on the bad side, aka Varish and Jack, they are both bonded to an orange dragon.
Interesting.
And I'm just trying to see if we have on here or if we know. But I don't think we do. Dane's dad, we don't know what type of dragon he has.
No, I'm not sure. I don't think it's ever mentioned, is it?
No, because he's not even on my list. But just something. Now, they have different ones. Like, Varish has an orange dagger tail, and then Jack has a orange scorpion tail. But they're both just orange dragons. Now, Xaden throws a wrench in it because he has a blue dragon.
Yeah.
But there are just a lot of people with orange dragons.
It could be something specifically that group has a tendency for more power.
Yeah, so just some like other people that we should maybe be concerned about. Brennan has an orange dragon.
Yeah.
And I said there could be tension between the siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Professor Carr.
Yeah.
Has one. Trissa, which I think she's one of the people on the little club thing. Amber Mavis, who dies, she tried to kill Violet in Fourth Wing. Like, why would she, as a wing leader, go after a cadet?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Jack. Trina, who's also dead. And that's it. Just those 5.
And that's who we know of, because I feel like there's a few that you never know. I think we're going to meet more people, but it wouldn't shock me if some of them... There has to be some link. Yeah.
I mean, we haven't really gotten, like, we know about the different types of dragons, but, like, why they pick the riders they pick, I don't know. But just something to keep in mind that, like, Varish and Jack are both despicable humans, and they both have an orange dragon. Just because it's a coincidence.
Yeah, I think with Xaden having a blue dragon, we do get that Sigale kept trying to prevent him from... Yeah, she's pissed. She's not happy with it at all. And I really think that there's a different... we know that he definitely converts for love, but with him being able to read intentions, I feel like he knows what the sage is up to, and that's also why he just said go for it, because he felt that Violet was dealing with the Warstone and everything, and she had it up within a couple seconds after. She could have held on.
Tells him like she's about to drain herself. Maybe also the orange dragons. Maybe that is like the weaker of the dragon species.
It could be.
That's why they bond venin. People that will likely become venin, because then it becomes easier for them to control their dragons.
And they have more power.
Both the dragons that have been talked about being controlled were both orange dragons.
Yeah.
Where the black dragon, like Terran, is like, humans do not control dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like does not bend to anyone. So like maybe it's, they're just like on the list. They're kind of the weaker species.
Yeah. It could give them more of an opportunity to have the venin control other things. Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's something we should keep in mind.
Yeah.
As we go through the reds seem to be trustworthy. Like they're with some like very trustworthy people. Professor Devera, Rhiannon has a red dragon. Dane, I think that works well in his favor.
Yeah.
Liam had a red dragon.
Yep.
Sloane has a red one now.
Mm-hmm.
And those people have really cool signets.
Very cool.
Siphoning,
different.
Being able to move objects, the metal, being able to read memories and stuff. So
yeah, there's definitely something to do with the type of dragon and what signets they get, because I know that they say yes, it's more on the rider too, but why are those dragons going after those riders? Like, there's something that they need from them as well. Yeah,
so I hope we get more about like the hierarchy of the dragon.
I hope so too. And there's so many people too that they throughout both books we see that each of the wings and everything in your squads are very much a work together, because you have all of these powers together, and there's pretty much a variety of the types of dragons that each of them have, that each squad has. So it could be that you need all of them to do something, but there's different levels of power with each of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank
goodness, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
See if any of our theories come true.
If any of them do, I think I'm celebrating and calling it a win. That's it.
Yeah. I definitely like the one that you have about the signet, though. I think that is really strong, has a strong chance of being true. And if it's not, then I think it was a missed opportunity, because I think it would be a great signet.
Yeah, it could be really cool. It could be interesting, too, in anything.
Or I wonder, like, maybe she'll have 3. Like, has anyone ever had 3?
I mean, she could.
I'm just tapping into my Zodiac Academy.
Yeah.
The people that were, like, really powerful prophesied. Like, they ended up with 4 elements when most people only get 1.
She's definitely more powerful than she gives herself credit for and what everyone else gives her credit for. So that has to mean something for the entire series. Not just the fact that she is a powerful, independent person, but there definitely has to be something else there.
And I do think this book is going to be more fast-paced, like Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
Iron Flame is definitely like a bridge book. Like we need to introduce all these characters. We need to introduce these different locations, the flyers.
Mm-hmm.
We learn about the dragons in Fourth Wing. We're learning about the griffins in Iron Flame. I think Onyx Storm will be more, okay, we need to retreat. We need to regroup. What is our next step?
Yeah.
Action plan.
I'm so curious too. We know about Wyvern because they're created by the venin. With Zayden being venin, I don't know.
Get a Wyvern?
But can he create his own that also go against the rest of the venin? And he does ruins really nicely too. Yeah.
I think they'll be testing a lot of things in Onyx Storm with him and the venin capability. And
I can't wait.
More of Jack Barlow.
I don't like him.
I can't stand him.
He's terrible.
More of Jack. But I don't think he'll be like at the compound, like at the headquarters with everyone, but he definitely will be tag team. Whether Zayden runs off with Jack.
Yeah.
Maybe Zayden is going to go undercover with the venin. He'd be like,
I'm just
going to immerse myself. I'm going to learn all the things, and then I'm going to translate it all to her.
It would not shock me. I mean, that would be a smart thing to do, because if you think about it, with him being able to read intentions too, like he could totally use that and get in there. Because I don't know if venin are... Do they have a stronger, mental block in that shield that people can't see into their mind? Because if they can't, then we're screwed. But if they are kind of just like everyone else, then he could easily get into what they're saying and what they're thinking.
It'll be interesting. I can't wait.
I cannot wait. I think this one's going to destroy me in a way, but we'll see.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And then who knows when we'll get the next book. Probably sometime in 2026. I think it'll be closer to the end, though.
I think it'll be towards the end of the year, yeah.
Also, just like rereading it, obviously I saw after Iron Flame, like I liked Iron Flame, but I just read Fourth Wing, then went right in.
Mm-hmm.
And even doing the reread, I still feel very true about it. Like people who were saying it felt rushed, it felt like there were parts that should have been taken out, it felt like it wasn't really edited, like there was grammar issues and stuff. Like I didn't catch any of that, and I felt, yeah, it is a long book, and it takes longer to read because it's not as like, oh my god, I need to keep going. It's definitely a slower pace, but I still feel like everything's important in it, and I would not cut anything.
I wouldn't either. I was thinking about that too. It was well done in the fact that it was part 1, part 2, because it really is a huge pivotal point after part 1 of where they go in part 2. But I wouldn't have taken anything out. I think it's intentional. I think it's there for a reason. We'll figure it out down the line.
People just wanted it to be action-packed like Fourth Wing, but it's like, you know, if it was a duology, sure, but you know, it's a long game. It's not. Yeah. We're in a marathon, not a sprint, and
exactly.
There's going to be times where you need to hunker down, strategize,
mm-hmm.
build a plan, and then there's going to be books where we're implementing the plan, and it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Oh man, I am so excited. It is bad.
Me too.
All right. Did you have anything else? Because I think we hit on everything I had.
Everything I had. I'm sure I'll think of more things, which then I'll just talk about it in our next episode.
All right. Well, I feel like we've hinted at our next episode multiple times, but it's going to be the Onyx Storm debrief. So I have no idea if anything we said will be accurate, but so I guess we'll see. We'll release that episode on January 29th. So super excited, and keeping up with us on Instagram and TikTok at Booktroverts Pod to hear more about our thoughts. We also have a Fable book club, so if you want to read along with us and give your thoughts there, that's awesome. And I guess we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.